Dare to struggle.
Dare to win.
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 Yes. First up, we would like everybody to stand for the Center for Political Innovation Pledge of Unity and remain standing afterwards for the flag ceremony. We do the pledge at the start of every gathering. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. We pledge that we shall remember this unity. Forged at the end of the Second World War.
Forged at the end of the Second World War.
Not only today.
Not only today.
Not only this week.
Not only this week.
This year, but always.
This year, but always.
Until we have built the world.
Until we have built the world.
We have dreamed of and fought for.
We have dreamed of and fought for.
We pledge ourselves to build.
We pledge ourselves to build.
The unity of the people of the world.
The unity of the people of the world.
All races, all colors.
All races, all colors.
All nationalities, all beliefs.
All nationalities, all beliefs.
To eliminate all traces of fascism from the earth.
To eliminate all traces of fascism from the earth.
To build a deep and sincere international friendship.
To build a deep and sincere international friendship.
Among the peoples of the world.
Among the peoples of the world.
To keep a just, lasting peace.
To keep a just, lasting peace.
To eliminate want, frustration.
To eliminate want, frustration.
And enforced idleness. We have come to confirm the unity of all people. To salute our comrades who have died. And pledge our word that skillful hands, keen brains, and bold enthusiasm shall never more be wasted in war. Please remain standing for the flag ceremony. you, gentlemen. All right. Good afternoon, good people. Is everyone excited for our program to start? But before we proceed, I have a question. Why are we here? Why did we all get up this morning and decided to get ready, look presentable, and made our time to come here? Why did some of us travel from out of state, a few from out of the country, just to be here? Why is it important to be here? Well, here's my answer. I joined the CPI a year or so ago after I listened to a lot of Caleb's streams and read what the CPI website had to say. The 4-point program made a lot of sense. Mass mobilization to rebuild the country, public control of banking, public ownership of natural resources, Economic Bill of Rights by Roosevelt. You don't need to be a communist to agree to them. I signed up to be a member, and my plan was to just stay in the background, considering I have a full-time job, I'm a wife, a mother, and I'll show my support from a distance. But last Christmas, we had a big family reunion in Texas. There were 38 plus of us from various states, some from all over the world. We started talking about life. I called out our irrational system. I said, ordinary people have no power. We're all under the whims of the elite. I felt good. I was able to vent to my family. Afterwards, I have this aunt who has a PhD in political science in a prestigious university in the Philippines, and she's even the Department of Peace, ahead of the Department of Peace. And she asked me in private, what am I going to do about my concerns? I thought for a sec, and then I told her, I don't know, maybe I'll just work till I drop. Stay healthy, I'll try to save money, maybe buy property if I can, and wish for the best. And just accept that I may retire in this country without much, which I'm okay with since I grew up in the Philippines. After I walked away from that conversation, it bothered me. I felt like my answer was weak. It sounded defeatist. I realized I shouldn't have answered that way because that's not who I am. My family and friends know me as a headstrong person. They know me as tough, stubborn, smart, type A personality. So I decided I should do something about it. When I came back home after that reunion, I told myself I'll try to be more active in some way. Then by coincidence, Elisabeth asked me to be more involved, Elisabeth, our president, to be more involved with CPI. It was God's will. So now I'm here. My name is Djedah. I hail from the southern island of Mindanao in the Philippines, and I now live in the Midwest with my family. I fell in love in the Midwest and love the vast plains of the prairies with its endless skies. I got to know Midwesterners. They welcomed me as one of their own. And I really appreciate the down-to-earth mindset where I feel I belong. Healthcare is my line of work now, but before coming to America, I dabbled in law school in the Philippines and had a little experience with doing paralegal work for the peasant farmers and fisher folks. My bleeding heart for the downtrodden, paired with a curious mind, brought me to this moment. It's very exciting to be here. I still have a lot to learn, and I'm here to learn more. It's a joy to see all of you here. I welcome you to this wonderful, timely, and brave event. This is the pre-buttal to Joe Biden's Summit for Democracy. We will hear from various anti-imperialist speakers calling out the hypocrisy of this government, ranging from domestic issues to international ones. It's going to be so much fun. You will feel pumped, you will feel inspired, you will feel optimistic that there is a bright future as long as we work together for a peaceful transition to a more rational system. Thank you so much for being here. Now it's time for an organizational report by our ever-dependable, tireless president. She lives in Portland, Oregon, but grew up in my beloved Midwest. She's hardworking, laser-focused, diplomatic, strong and steady as she captains our ship in these turbulent times. As we welcome her, let's give the Center for Political Innovation President Elisabeth Young a round of applause.
Thank you, Djedah. That was so sweet. It's so lovely. Thank you for those inspiring words as well. Yeah, very moved. Okay. So, yeah, that was a moving opening so far, so thank you. I just want to tell you just a little bit about the Center for Political Innovation before we start, why we're here, and what we feel like our role is. I'm so pleased to welcome you, and thank you for being here. The CPI, the Center for Political Innovation, is a socialist education project, and our intent is to bring awareness and to cultivate education around scientific socialism, class struggle, and anti-imperialism. So CPI is an education project. It's not a party, it's not a pre-party formation. It's important to recognize that with a fully formed revolutionary party, there are many moving parts. For example, there are labor unions, community organizations, and other aspects that are rooted in a deep and large base of the population. If these pieces were an orchestra, education and building community among revolutionaries would only be one section of that orchestra. It is our hope that this work that we do could contribute to a foundation of something more, something that could rightly call itself a party, that would transition the United States to socialism. But even if this type of multifaceted organization could organically appear, we strongly believe that we cannot wait to do this work. Neither should we overstate our role by labeling one instrument a party. That's why we are an educational organization and we feel called to do this work. CPI can pinpoint late June of 2021 as our beginning. That is when our organization held its first in-person gathering in Saxton, Pennsylvania. During this gathering, a series of lectures were presented that act as our core model to introduce people to Marxism, Leninism, and revolutionary politics. We are now training others to present these materials because replicating these lectures allows people to develop their understanding of the basic principles that we put forward as an organization. And it is through studying and learning by doing and becoming people who participate through action rather than what seems to be the default mode, that of the spectator, commentator, participant. So we are people of action, as you can tell. We ask people to meet this moment and step up to what is needed in a way that has become uncommon. Since June of 2021, CPI has accomplished a great deal. I want to just tell you about some of those things. When Alex Saab was extradited to the United States from Cape Verde, CPI organized an emergency last-minute protest in support of Venezuela. The protest was held in Times Square in New York City, and Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, mentioned it in a speech several hours after it happened. Yeah. When the foreign minister of Nicaragua spoke at a church in Harlem, CPI mobilized its members to protect him from the harassment of right-wing Nicaraguans. The Center for Political Innovation dispatched 3 election monitors to Nicaragua and also arranged for other media personalities to visit Nicaragua and certify the legitimacy of the elections, in which the Sandinistas won in a broad sweep. CPI's participation in the election delegation was noted by Business Insider and among other media outlets. Just after Russia's denazification operation began in Ukraine, CPI held a conference in Austin, Texas. The March 2022 conference featured a number of prominent social media personalities and was packed full of people. The website trutherfiction.com had to put up a page clarifying that the anti-imperialist gathering featuring the Soviet flag, the U.S. flag, and the flag of the Donetsk People's Republic was indeed real and not an internet hoax. In Chicago, CPI convened a conference in August of 2022, and we were honored to feature Tara Reid, who has been ignored and ruthlessly smeared by U.S. media. Me too be damned, because she is a truth teller and was assaulted by the U.S. President Joe Biden. The conference was then highlighted in Newsweek. On February 19th, CPI was an official sponsor of the Rage Against the War Machine rally in Washington, D.C., calling for peace with Russia and China. This was the biggest anti-war protest in Washington, D.C. in almost 20 years, and we were honored to participate. Because former UN weapons inspector Scott Ritter was pushed out of the February 19th rally, CPI hosted a reception for him afterwards that was attended by over 160 people. And Scott Ritter gave spirited remarks among other anti-imperialists. Thank you, Scott, for being here today. Roger Stone's podcast has featured a guest who listed CPI as an influence on U.S. Congresswoman and Fox News host Tulsi Gabbard. CPI convened a national 4-day training school in Lynn Valley, Kansas, bringing together 40 different activists from many parts of the country to study socialism and Marxism and to give shape to our expanding organization. In addition to our in-person activities, CPI has published a number of different books. So far, 11 have been published, the first of which was our own edition of The Green Book by Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. The CPI edition is the top-selling and top-rated version of the book on Amazon, and over 2,000 copies have been sold or distributed. CPI published the book Kamala Harris and the Future of America, an investigation into the woman who became the U.S. Vice President, which included her background and psychological profile. The book was widely reviewed in not only U.S. publications, but in print magazines in the UK and India. It is likely that Tulsi Gabbard drew from the book when she provided her analysis of Kamala Harris in a recent interview with Jordan Peterson. The CPI book, BreadTube Serves Imperialism, which revealed the relationship of certain pro-imperialist synthetic socialist internet personalities in the relationship they have to the U.S. intelligence apparatus, was the top-selling book on Amazon in the tech category of anarchism for over 2 weeks. The book inspired and laid the basis for investigative journalism done by Gray Zone that revealed further links to the intelligence community, including direct funding of Abigail Thorne, also known as Philosophy Tube, by the British royal family and MI6 linked foundations. So as our organization has rapidly expanded over the course of the past 2 years, we have faced a number of attacks. One of the main organizations that has worked against the Center for Political Innovation is the Communist Party USA. Ironically, yeah. Because CPI is not a party and allows dual membership, the leaders of the Communist Party have been very threatened by CPI, as it has strong overlap in membership. CPI largely does the kind of educational work that the Communist Party fails to do. It is a well-documented historical fact that the Communist Party USA has been under the complete control of the FBI since at least 1958, if not earlier. Boris Childs, the top FBI informant inside the Communist Party National Board, received the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his work controlling the Communist Party and using it to feed disinformation to the Soviet Union. The details of Operation Solo are now public record. The Communist Party, despite having a huge amount of money and property, does very little other than campaign for Democrats. and we expose them by who we are. Rarely does the Communist Party go out of its way to comment on other leftist groups. However, the Communist Party was so threatened by CPI doing the work that it fails to do that it would be exposed to its own members that they published a scathing hit piece full of lies and waged an obsessive year-long internal campaign against CPI. But we consider this a compliment and a sign of how effective our work has been so far. We will continue to do our best to hold this pro-NATO, FBI-controlled Democratic Front organization accountable as we carry out this revolutionary work. One key aspect of the Center for Political Innovation has been exposing the synthetic left. And we do this by distinguishing ourselves from this pseudo-Marxism. CPI then points people towards the clarity of thought and action. CPI dares to acknowledge the unspeakable history of the Congress for Cultural Freedom program and how left-wing politics was intentionally reinvented by the U.S. intelligence during the Cold War. Marxism-Leninism was supplanted by anti-populism, middle-class individualism, cultural hedonism, and choice selections of New Age and Eastern mysticism with other reactionary politics. This was not an accident, but the intentional work of the CIA. What calls itself the left in America is anything but that. CPI maintains that it is necessary to reinvent socialism and pull away from these forces. As Lenin said, we seek to go lower and deeper to the real masses, while exposing the opportunists who support the imperialist wars. We have no interest in compromising with or trying to please the woke fascists who hate working people and represent the misanthropic zeitgeist. One point must also be made on behalf of the board of directors, and this is that Caleb Maupin is our ideological leader. CPI is a result of Caleb Maupin's vision for building an organization, and we recognize his unique approach to building 21st century socialism. Though CPI is much more than any one personality, we don't take for granted his pioneering efforts in understanding and applying Marxism, Leninism, anti-imperialism, and even Christianity, as religion and anti-communism have historically been fused together. His place as our ideological leader and visionary shouldn't be understated, and we are proud that he has this place in our organization. His steadfast commitment to building 21st century socialism, his dogged endurance, his dynamism is a treasure that we will not throw away. No matter the changes and restructuring that take place and the attacks that we face. Thanks, Caleb. Thank you, everybody. In the short time of our existence, CPI has accomplished an incredible amount. This is not so much a sign of our own strengths and abilities as is an indicator of how badly the task we have taken on demand to be done. There is great potential for those who are willing to apply scientific Marxist principles in our time in an effort to build a real anti-imperialist movement, and the potential for that movement is truly vast. In the coming months, we have a number of important tasks. Among them are building up united front efforts to push for the renewal of negotiations between the United States and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Furthermore, we seek to continue training members to be able to give the Saxon lectures effectively. We expect that in the 2024 presidential election season, many people will become politically engaged. And while those who become engaged may campaign for a variety of anti-establishment voices, they will also be looking for a community to belong to and an ideology to believe in, not just an election cycle. CPI seeks to provide that role. CPI is also paying close attention to the recent events in Asbury, Kentucky, and the trend of Christian revivalism. We expect these kinds of occurrences in impoverished red states to escalate in the coming months, and we plan to intervene at these religious awakenings, pushing an anti-war and socialist message among those inspired by a revival of Christianity. It is important that neoconservatives and Zionists do not have a monopoly on the political messaging that will inevitably take place. On behalf of the leadership of CPI, I want to make this final appeal. If you want to write, to teach, to create social media content, to educate, to perform, to have an active response in the crisis of capitalism, and to have a response in the quandary of the ever-shifting conditions, then CPI wants you. The purpose of this organization is to enact socialist education, cultivate a practice of study and steadfastness, and to build a tangible community. And we are looking for people we can enable to take such roles, to find their own voice, and to carry out this work, to convene gatherings, write books, give talks, and otherwise fill the void that is desperately missing in U.S. political discourse. If you feel you have a contribution to make, please join our organization. Yes. We will do our best to connect you immediately and put you to work. We want you to have a voice, and we want to empower you. The stakes are getting higher in U.S. politics, and the situation is becoming more serious every day. We encourage people to donate and to become involved so that we will be able to continue our work. We want to do everything possible to expand anti-imperialist and socialist consciousness in America and to lay the basis for the varied struggles ahead. Thank you.